Hey folks, so there's a new Baruuk skin came out, and maybe some people might, get it and be interested in playing around with Baruuk. So I'm going to show two builds today. I'm going to show an Afflictions build with a few variations on what elements we're going to proc with it. I'm going to show an Influence build here. So this is the Influence build. So if you're going to take your Baruuk to level cap, I would say, definitely put Catalyzing Shields in and have Augur Secrets. Now, you don't have to have Augur Secrets there. I've got it because I can't think of what else I would really want to have here just now. So I thought the extra strength, can help me. So let's just say this is geared for level cap right now. We've got Catalyzing Shields in just now, and people might say, oh, why have you got that in? Well, because the damage reduction is not going to cut it at level cap. But also, this is my one build sort of set up for survivability. I only ever have Catalyzing Shields in. I don't ever use Primary Direction. Although, if you're just going to play in Steel Path, this is going to be more than enough shields in conjunction with his 3 to keep you alive in just Steel Path. So if you're just going to play Steel Path and you've got no interest in going to level cap, this would be what you want to do. This will be enough. You got energy, you got strength, you got energy regen here, you got enough energy to pick up here, got extra strength, a bit of shield gate in there, to get shields back on cast, and plus it's extra strength. You don't really have any other reason here. Reactive Storm, this is going to change. Look at our stats chance here. So say we proc Electric for melee influence on our fists, we will also proc whatever element that enemy's weak to. So if we're fighting Grenier, when we proc melee influence, we'll also proc corrosive at the same time. If we're fighting infested, we'll proc vital, yada yada yada, whatever they're weak to, we'll proc it at the same time. A fantastic, fantastic mod here. So Fury, I would say this is a flex slot. You could go multi-augmented if you want, but for my setup, I've got melee damage slotted in here for damage in my fists. Arcane Strike, I think, is a must because you want a lot of attack speed in Baruuk. Ready Steel is nice. You could swap this out if you want. You could put in, where is it? You could put in Growing Power. You could put in Steel Charge, but I like the Ready Steel. Prime Sure Footed. Don't know if it's really needed on this build. I like to have it because if I'm playing it at level cap like I often do, this way I'll never really die with this setup. So, so this would be what you would take into just your everyday Steel Path mission and have nothing to worry about for survival, because Primary Direction in conjunction with Baruuk's 3 is going to keep you alive, and any shields lost you're going to gain back anytime you sort of cast abilities. So that's handling the base Steel Path Baruuk build. But I want to show this geared for a level cap in the way that I play it, because the way I play this, I can take this into base Steel Path with just 93 shields and survive more than enough because of the DR and the way I generate shields. It's more than enough shields to survive base Steel Path. If I was going to level cap, I could swap that out to Brief Respite, but I really don't think I'd need it. So we'll go cover the shield, the fists here. So this is your standard influence setup. Now, why have I got conditional overload here? Because that arcane I got on Baruuk is base damage. This is going to be on direct hits, insane damage, and the base damage arcane will apply to the melee influence. It's going to boost electric here a lot by melee elementalist. We've got insane critical damage from the shards, and this is the best way to set this up. Now, this is a flex lot. If you want more parkour velocity, you can add in Truth Flame and ignore the heavy attacks, because Baruuk really doesn't need a heavy attack. The damage is so wild you don't need to. This is just a nice free bit of parkour velocity. See the truth at the bottom of the description, a bit of parkour velocity. But we'll keep this in. Now I want to touch on this. So when Baruuk slams and he does a light slam, they haven't nerfed the radius of his slam. So if you jump it up in the air and do a light slam, just with your light attack when you're looking at the ground, you'll do a massive AoE, which can proc influence, which is really, really good. So we're going to go on a mission here and show the melee influence setup. We're going to show my Baruuk here with the setup for a sort of level cap here. Like I said, this is our base damage in the fists. We're getting it from here. Now, weapons don't matter. Torrid, Slop, does not matter. You don't even need to take a primary. I'm going to take that off just to show the point. Now, I've got this here. This is here for priming. This is here to give me overguard if I want it. We can also shield gate here. So we're going to have more than enough mods and waste the shield gate with just that in there. With the strength, augur mod, and these two, that'll be more than enough for Baruuk to survive all the way up to level cap. Melee, doesn't matter. I've just got it in case I run out of energy. Take this, take whatever you want. It really does not matter. This is going to be enough to keep us alive. And this. And now, For the companion, we've got this here, Synergized Prospectus. This will get us passive overguard as we're running around. This is going to prime everybody up for our condition overload. You could go with like a cat or a dog, but the thing is though, you know, if you're going to try and use the mecha set, Baruuk kills everything so fast that it's just a waste of time. You're better to have something like this that's going to give you utility of priming for condition overload. Not that you need it, but it is a bit better than the dog who's just going to be doing really nothing because you kill everything before the dog can even, you know, nuke them. And plus you'll get some free overguard with this here. We'll see that working in the mission. As long as you've got a secondary, basically how this works, as long as you've got a secondary with secondary fortifier, periodically the Hound will cast this, and sometimes it'll give you free overguard up to 15,000. So it's a nice little blanket defense. Now this Hound's going to put lots of elements in everybody, often nuking the whole room, really doing crazy damage. You don't need this, just put Toxin in there. So that's what this is. All we really need for this build is this Hound with these mods here, and you know, something with, you know, secondary fortifier, Augur Seeker and Augur Pact. The regular epitaph will be enough. We can run around spamming this, gaining overguard, and at the same time the Hound will give us overguard. This mods and this Desert Wind here. Now, after we've done the influence build, we'll come back and we'll look at the Afflictions build and a few little mod changes. So, you know, the shards, we've got just 5 purples, and we jump into a mission, then we'll look at how it does in the mission, the levels of damage it does, the sort of slams without even being built for slam. As you can see, we don't have seismic wave in here because we're going to do light slams, and they're going to be more than enough damage to wipe out huge areas if we want to do it. We don't need to. You know, you're actually better to just run around and light attack with Baruuk because he's just that strong. So I'll jump into the mission, we'll have a look at it like this, then we'll go look at the Afflictions build. So here's us in Circulus. Now, we'll go over the way to play Baruuk here. You know, you need to wear down his restraint meter, and a lot of people are put off Baruuk for this reason. So what you want to do is cast your 2. See a bit of the restraints went down there? The more we can do that, the quicker we get the bar down. Cast your 3, that's going to get the bar down a little more. Doesn't look like we're doing much right now, but trust me, we'll slowly but surely get this up, and it won't be an issue at all. And once you get the ball rolling with Baruuk, it's like a train. It can't really be stopped. So once we get a bit of energy and get the ball rolling, we're going to be sorted. Right, so now we're getting a bit of energy built in. Again, we need to just get a bit of viral in the goal. Now look at our restraint meter, it's went right down. Now we can cast our 4, and then, you know, everything is going to absolutely get obliterated. Now we've got our Nourish in the goal. Now there's really no stopping. Now look at the Hound. Hound's going to do that a lot. Now, Baruuk's just going to proc so much electric damage on these people with this spinning attack. Basically, you want to do the slide attack, spam it, and you're going to kill everything all the way up to level cap with absolute ease. Now, we're going to see viral and corrosive proccing on these people, whether they're, you know, well, actually, this is going to be viral, I think, because they're corrupted. I think that's what they're weak to. But if this was Grenier, we would see electric, corrosive proccing in them. If it was Corpus, we would see Toxin, electric proccing in them. Now see, I don't even need a heavy attack because the levels of damage Baruuk does is just absolutely wild. Now periodically cast our 2 and our 3, and we should keep our restraint down. See the bars going down, and then look at that, millions of damage. Now the Hound's priming them up for us too for condition overload, and then our base melee damage arcane is boosting up the influence. But even without that arcane, the levels of damage are astronomical. Now heavy attack, no need for it, just absolute ludicrous damage. Now let's talk about the light slam. So watch Baruuk's little, look at that slam there. There's literally no AoE. That's the heavy slam, right? Now watch the light slam. Look at that AoE. They haven't nerfed Baruuk's light slam. So you can run around and light slam without building for any slam mods and do ludicrous damage with Baruuk. Now if you want to go Afflictions or if you want to go electric, it's up to you. They're both going to absolutely wipe the area out because you're going to get melee influence procs virtually all the time, and you're going to get big AoE. But is it better than Baruuk just light attacking? Definitely not, because look at how much waves he sends out and how far they go, and when influence procs, the levels of damage are astronomical. Now I've took this build to level cap many times, Now, if you look at our shields, we started with 96, now we're up to 928. Whether these people are put to sleep, you know, when we cast the 2, they go to sleep, watch this. They're sort of stunned and put to sleep, they can't do anything. Cast the 3 gives us DR. Now, we've built up enough shields that we've got a decent amount of DR to just keep us going in Steel Path. We've basically got a free adaptation and 1,000 level shield. So that's why I don't build for big shields and I just keep catalyzing shields there, because once we pass that threshold of DR not being any use and we're in the level cap, that's why catalyzing shields becomes the preferred method, because we can just shield gate on abilities very easily. But for base Steel Path, we've got more than enough survivability with Justice 3 and, you know, gaining shields on the Augur mods. Now, as you can see, I was gaining some overguard there. That was the Hound that done it for me. He'll periodically, like I said, gain us overguard when he damages enemies with overguard. Now, the Hound's going to be immortal because we're constantly melee attacking. That's why he won't die, and he can just run around and kill for us as well. We're keeping our restraint down. We've not came out of restraint at all. As long as we find groups and periodically cast our tuner, so they not even caring about what they're really doing. And then we just continue a light attack, and nothing's going to survive. Look at that. It's the same if we do an Afflictions build. They're very similar. Afflictions build, I think the dots would be a lot higher. You know, if I go for my Heat Afflictions build, we're going to see dots into 9, 10 million. You can't really see it here though, because they die before they even get lifted. But you know, if you go a level cap with an Afflictions Baruuk with Heat, you're going to do dots into the multiple millions. But look at the damage here, it's nothing to scoff at. We're only at 10x combo. So we'll get the combo up to 12, and then we'll kill an Acolyte, and then we'll jump out and we'll show off the Afflictions build. There's the Acolyte. Now, of course we get Violence. We'll see how we get on though. He's dead. Managed to kill him before he silenced us. So as you can see, nothing's really a problem as long as we get to them. If I start and tank a few hits, I'll show you what I mean about the sort of survival we can have with the DR built in S3 and the way we're building our shields up with the Augur set. If I jump over here, the Hound's Raz procced everybody, so they're not really focusing on us. You see, we're losing a bit of shields, but then if we lose our shield, we can tank a decent amount for Steel Path. Then we cast an ability and look, and we get full shield again, and also the Hound can give us shields back. So, you know, you got really nothing to worry about. You can periodically fire off your Epitaph as well, gain an overguard. Like that. You know, so it's another layer of survivability. So that's really how you're going to play Baruuk. Periodically cast your 2, periodically cast your 3, keep your nourish up, and then just light attack, slide attack. And you've got nothing to worry about. Nothing's going to survive this. Everything's going to die. You don't even need a heavy attack because you just do so much damage that everything's going to die with the lights. Look at that. An absolute powerhouse of a Warframe. Super underrated, probably the best exalted in the game. You know, I would say Excalibur is, in my opinion, but Baruuk takes some beating. He's got everything you would really want in a frame. So I'm going to jump out and I'm going to show off the Afflictions with the Heat. They're going to see virtually the exact same gameplay loop. It's just changing the arcane and changing the modded damage. We'll go into the Selkie survival Steel Path, and we'll show off the Afflictions build. So I'll see you there. Now here's what I put in for the Afflictions Baruuk. So all we've done here is we've taken out Archon Vitality in place of Augur Secrets. So we're going to double dip in the heat damage here, and we're going to go over here, and we're going to swap out Shock and Touch for a heat mod. And then we've got Melee Element Mist that will, you know, give us more status damage. And we swap this for Afflictions. So now we'll be proccing heat on every attack. Every enemy that's lifted is going to get 6 additional stacks, which is going to take this into the millions in heat damage. And also they're going to take stacks of whatever they're weak to here. So it could be, you know, 6 stacks of corrosive, 6 stacks of heat, 6 stacks of toxin, 6 stacks of heat, and nothing's going to survive. It's going to absolutely wipe out everything. I've got the AoE to not care about not using a melee influence. You know, or if you want, you could swap out Precision Intensify. You know, you could do this as well if you wanted to proc Toxin and Corrosive. But I don't think there's a need. You know, if you was to put in Archon Continuity and just mod this for Toxin here, you could do Toxin Corrosive Afflictions. But I think the heat is far better. So we'll take this into mission. Nothing much has changed. We've just changed the arcane from influence to afflictions. We've changed the electric mod to heat, and we've swapped out Augur's secrets for Archon Vitality. So that should apply, you know, stats of extra abilities that deal heat damage will be applied twice. It should work here. And if not, the amount of damage we already do from Baruuk's fists with melee influence, melee afflictions and heat, and melee elementalist is more than enough to absolutely wipe out everything. So we'll jump into mission and we'll showcase the afflictions version of Baruuk. And you can choose whatever one you think's best. Probably everybody's going to want to go influence, but the afflictions one I do think could scale higher damage, you know, with the lifted status effect and afflictions. So here's us in Selkie Steel Pass against the Grineer. I think these are probably the toughest guys we can fight. So again, just as we get the ball rolling, then, you know, there's no stopping Baruuk. So we'll probably want to get our nourish down first, get a few kills to get our energy up, and then, you know, put these guys to sleep with our 2, get our restraint bar going down a bit. Past our 3, get our restraint bar down a little bit more. Past our 2 again, get our restraint bar down a little bit more. Hound's doing nice, millions of damage already. And then look, our restraint bar is pretty far down, we can cast our 4. Now, we want to lift enemies, that's how we want to kill people now. So you want to do the slide attack and you'll lift big groups of enemies, applying afflictions to them all. Now, if these people have overguard, we can't lift them obviously, but the raw heat damage is more than enough to just wipe them out. Nothing to worry about. Now see, we're applying corrosive here, corrosive and heat because of reactive storm. Now if we had influence on, we'd be doing electric and corrosive, but we've got affliction, so we're doing heat and corrosive because these guys are weak to heat. Now we're killing them before we can actually see the afflictions proccing because we do so much damage. But trust me, if we could see that status effects, it would be in the millions on the lifted enemies. Just periodically cast our 2 or 3 and our 1 and just continue to lift enemies up with our slide attacks. Like I says, they're dying before we can see afflictions even proccing because the levels of damage is so insane. But, you know, when you go into the simulacrum, I'll maybe put a clip in at the end showing sort of heat damage these people take. These lifted enemies will be taking millions and millions of damage. That, you know, it's annoying that we can't actually gauge how much damage they're taking because they're dead well before we can see the procs. 238k there. We'll hang about till we get an Acolyte. And also, you know, any stats effects that are put on them from the Hound, when we lift them, they'll get 6 more stacks of that as well. I just wish we could see how much this heat procs are doing, but I know they're easily 10 million. On Baruuk's 3rd light, that should lift them too. It's just far better to do the, you know, do the lifted slide attack. It's the best way to do it. Proc your afflictions, but that will lift them as well. Like I says, we can't really see the levels of damage we're technically doing. Now we're at 12x.
Another life support capsule is now available.
$6.9 million there, was it? So, you know, nothing's going to survive. Whether you go afflictions or influence, it really doesn't make a difference. And as you can see, our survival is very, very easy as well. Anytime we take damage, we're kind of getting our shield straight back up again from either the Hound or us just periodically casting abilities. Just keep your 2 and your 3 cast every 10-20 seconds, keeping up your nourish as well. So they're going to take a lot of viral damage from the Hound priming them, and then, you know, look at that level of damage. I just wish we could see these heat procs. He just does so much damage that you can't even get the chance to see how much they're taking. Now if we do Afflictions for slamming, you know, we're going to lift them and proc lift on every slam. Now we could do heavy, but there's not really a point of doing heavy because we've got such a small radius with a heavy. They're best just to do the light slams like I said before. So if we jump like this, do a light slam, we get a big AoE.
Life support capsule.
Now you could go blast with them as well, but I do think that the best way to play Baruuk would just be to do heat Afflictions if you're going to do that. 5.3 million dot there. So that's what I mean, we're looking at this sort of levels and numbers of dots. I wonder if we can kill this Acolyte with just a light slam. I think we probably can. Where is he? Yep, look at that. One light slam from Baruuk, and the heat dots killed him.
Keep up the good work.
That's showing the sorts of levels of damage the Afflictions are doing with this heat here. And obviously with Condition Overload, the Hound, and the already massive amounts of status effects we've got going on in these enemies. That was a 2 million dot there. Again, no worry about this. You know, look at our shield, just constantly going right back up, and the Hound's giving us overguard. So it's just a joke of the levels of damage and survival we have in this build. And like I said, when you go to level cap, you're surviving just as good. Your Hound will be immoral because you're constantly killing with melee damage. And you know, even if we don't, you know, look at the damage we do on these enemies that aren't lifted. They're still dying effortlessly from the levels of damage from the heat. So I think that'll do for what I've tried to convey. I'll put a little clip at the end of the simulacrum, maybe showing some of the heat dots we get off this lifted enemies, if I can. Cheers. Hopefully this helps some people that want to try and get into Baruuk.